Alaikum everyone. My name is Huzaifah Ahmed and I'm from Rehan Korangi campus. Today the topic of discussion with ChatGPT is discuss exploring the connection between diet and mental well-being, which is surprisingly a very good topic. So let's discuss. Hey ChatGPT, today the discussion with you is going to be on exploring the connection between diet and mental well-being.
That sounds like a really interesting topic. There's actually a lot of research linking what we eat to how we feel mentally. Things like mood, anxiety, even cognitive function. Where would you like to start? Are you thinking about specific foods or maybe certain dietary patterns like Mediterranean or something else?
Yeah, we'll talk about it later, but first, why don't you tell me what exactly is the connection between diet and mental well being? Is what we eat really that close linked to how we feel throughout the day?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's this growing body of evidence that shows our diet affects neurotransmitters, things like serotonin and dopamine, which are crucial for mood regulation. Plus, inflammation, gut health, and even the diversity of gut microbes, your microbiome, can all influence how we feel. Basically, the nutrients we get or lack can either support or undermine brain health, which is why a balanced diet tends to go hand in hand with better mental well being.
All right. Now, what does the emerging field of nutritional psychiatry say about the relationship between food and mental health? I want you to propose this with a heavy evidence.
Nutritional psychiatry is a growing field that shows a real link between diet and mental health. Research from large studies suggests that poor diet, especially high in processed foods, is linked to more depression and anxiety, while diets like the Mediterranean pattern, rich in whole foods, support better mood. In fact, a major trial called the SMILES study found that improving diet led to a 30% improvement in depression symptoms within 12 weeks. Overall, food affects brain chemicals, inflammation, and gut health, all of which shape mood and mental well being.
All right, I heard you mentioning gut health. So, why don't you tell me what is the gut brain connection and how does the digestive system directly influence mood, anxiety, and cognition?
Yeah, that's a fascinating area. So the gut and the brain are actually in constant communication via what's called the gut brain axis. The gut microbiome, the trillions of microbes in our intestines, produce neurotransmitters, short chain fatty acids, and even immune molecules. These signals can travel to the brain, influencing inflammation, stress responses, and even how we process emotions. So, a healthy gut microbiome can promote calm, better focus, and resilience to stress, while an imbalanced gut can contribute to anxiety or brain fog.
What specific foods and nutritions having have the strongest evidence for positively impacting mental health and mood?
Research in nutrition and mental health highlights that a solid gut brain model, like the Mediterranean diet, is strongly linked to better mood and lower risk of depression. Specific foods that stand out include fatty fish rich in omega 3s, leafy greens, berries, whole grains, and nuts and seeds. On the other hand, high consumption of ultra processed foods and added sugars is linked to worse mood. Overall, diet is a key factor in mental well being, though it works alongside other aspects like sleep and exercise.
How does a diet high in processed food, sugar, just like you mentioned, and artificial ingredients affect the brain and emotional state over time for the long term?
Research shows that diets high in ultra processed foods, added sugars, and artificial ingredients are linked to higher rates of depression and anxiety over time. Mechanisms include increased inflammation, disrupted gut microbiome, and a hijacked reward system that leads to cravings and mood swings. Long term, this can contribute to cognitive decline and persistent emotional issues. Shifting to more whole foods and reducing processed foods gradually can help improve mood and brain health.
All right, what's the connection between nutritional deficiencies? Some deficiencies I have in mind are iron, B12, omega 3, and vitamin D, and conditions like depression and anxiety.
There's growing evidence linking deficiencies in nutrients like vitamin B12, omega 3 fatty acids, vitamin D, and iron to higher risks of depression and anxiety. These nutrients are vital for neurotransmitter function, brain health, and reducing inflammation. For example, low B12 or omega 3 levels are linked with worse mood, and low vitamin D is tied to a higher risk of depression. So improving these nutrient levels can help, but they're just one part of the bigger picture that includes sleep, exercise, and stress management.
What's the difference between eating for physical health and eating intentionally for mental well-being? Are they the same thing? And what is the difference between the outputs that they both generate?
That's a really great question. So, eating for physical health often focuses on things like macronutrients, calories, and preventing disease, basically, what supports your body's longevity and energy. Eating for mental well being is more intentional about mood, emotional balance, and cognitive clarity. So, you're choosing foods that directly support brain chemistry and reduce stress. The outcomes overlap. Better physical health can support mental health, but intentional mental eating often results in more stable moods, better stress resilience, and sharper focus, in addition to physical benefits.
How do eating patterns, skipping meals, emotional eating, and restrictive dieting affect mood, focus, and mental resilience?
Eating patterns have a big impact on mood, focus, and mental resilience. Skipping meals, especially breakfast, is linked to higher risks of mood issues and lower cognitive function. Emotional eating, driven by stress or boredom, may temporarily soothe but often leads to guilt and further mood dips. Restrictive dieting, cutting out major food groups, can also harm brain functions, increasing cravings and lowering focus. So, regular balanced eating and tuning into your body's cues can support both mood and mental clarity.
All right, now what does research say about the Mediterranean diet specifically and its impact on depression and cognitive decline?
Research shows that the Mediterranean diet is linked to better mental and cognitive outcomes. Studies found that people with higher adherence to the diet had about an 11 to 30% lower risk of dementia and Alzheimer's, and a consistent link was also found with reduced depression risk. These benefits likely come from the diet's anti inflammatory effects, gut support, and overall nutrient density, making it a strong strategy for long term brain and mood health.
Now, how do cultural food habits and social eating affect mental health beyond just the nutritional content of the food?
Research shows that cultural food habits and social eating play a big role in mental health beyond just nutrition. Cultural food practices help foster identity and belonging, while shared meals build connection, reduce loneliness, and boost mood. Eating together provides structure, reinforces healthy patterns, and strengthens social bonds, all of which support overall mental well being.
Now, lastly, to cover this discussion, what's one dietary change someone can make today that has strong evidence for improving their mood and mental clarity?
A really simple evidence backed change is adding more omega 3 rich foods to your diet, like fatty fish, think salmon or sardines, flax seeds or walnuts. These omega 3s are strongly tied to reducing inflammation and supporting brain function, which can lead to better mood and sharper mental clarity. So, just adding one serving a few times a week can make a big difference over time.
All right, everyone, this was the end of my discussion with ChatGPT. Until the next one, Allah Hafiz.